That evening, Samson returned to the mansion, jingling his car keys as he stepped into the living room. Rebecca was sitting on the sofa with baby Ethan in her arms. She looked up and smiled calmly. "Welcome back," she said. "I have something to tell you. While you were away, I employed 2 new staff, a security guard and a chef." Samson stopped, surprise flashing across his face. "You employed them without me?" "Yes," Rebecca replied. "I met them today. They seemed honest and hard-working. I liked them immediately." Samson frowned slightly. "Rebecca, you know it is good to be careful with people we allow into this house. You should have waited for me to come home first. We should decide together." "I understand," Rebecca said softly. "But they needed help urgently. They had nowhere to sleep, so I told them they could stay in the boys' quarters for now. I could not send them away." Samson sighed. "All right," he said at last. "But next time, let's discuss such things first." "I will," Rebecca promised. Samson glanced at the baby and then back at his wife. "So who are they?" "A humble couple," Rebecca explained. "Their names are Jonah and Lydia. They came to the city looking for Jonah's uncle, but found that he has relocated abroad. They had no place to stay. The gods blessed them with a baby after many years of waiting. Their story touched me." Samson raised an eyebrow. "They have a baby, and yet they are both older. Interesting. Where did they find such luck after so many years?" Rebecca smiled faintly. "They called the child a miracle. His name is Caleb." Samson felt a strange chill, though he did not know why. He forced a small smile. "Well, let us see if they can do the work well." The next morning the estate was quiet and cool. Jonah sat at his post by the main gate, straight and alert in the chair Rebecca had given him. Samson came out of the house with quick, heavy steps. His face was tight and serious. "Jonah," he said sharply, "where is your wife?" "I want to see Lydia." Now Jonah stood at once and bowed his head politely. "Good morning, sir." Samson frowned. "I asked you a question." "Where is your wife?" Jonah kept his voice calm. "Sir, Madam Rebecca asked Lydia to go to the market to buy some things for the kitchen. Madam sent the driver with her so she would not get lost." Samson's eyes narrowed. "Rebecca sent the driver?" "Yes, sir," Jonah replied, still respectful. "They left not long ago. They should be back before midday." Samson sighed. He gave a short, sharp nod and turned without another word. His shoes struck the tiled path with a hard sound as he walked quickly back toward the mansion. Inside, the living room was bright with morning light. Rebecca sat on the long cream sofa, gently rocking baby Caleb in her arms. Samson stopped in the doorway, his anger already rising. "Where is our son?" he demanded. Rebecca looked up, startled by the sudden harshness in his voice. "Ethan is upstairs sleeping. Why are you speaking like this?" Samson stepped closer, his voice sharp and loud. "So you left our son alone upstairs while you sit here carrying another person's baby? You have known these people for just 1 day, and already you are rocking their child as if he is yours. Have they bewitched you? It is like you love him more than our own son." Rebecca frowned. "Don't talk like that, Samson. I only asked Lydia to let me hold Caleb for a while. He is a lovely baby, and I enjoy spending time with him. There is nothing wrong with that. And I am planning to get a nanny for Ethan soon. You know I will be going back to work." Samson shook his head quickly. "No, our son does not need a nanny." Rebecca looked Samson straight in the eye. "You are only fooling yourself, Samson. Keep talking to the air if you wish. I will do what is best for our child." Without waiting for his reply, she turned and walked upstairs to check on Ethan, leaving Samson standing in the living room with his anger and an unease he could not explain. That evening, after pacing the mansion in silence for hours, Samson finally left. The sky was turning dark purple when he reached Trisha's apartment. Trisha was sitting on the sofa. She looked up and smiled, but the smile faded when she saw the anger on his face. "What is it this time?" she asked. Samson dropped into the chair opposite her and ran a hand over his head. "There is something strange going on in that house," he said sharply. "Rebecca is spending more and more time with the security man's child. This morning I found her rocking the boy like he was her own. She even sent the driver to carry the child's mother to the market. Something is not right. Trisha raised an eyebrow. Then let us push them out, she said quickly. If these strangers are making her act like this, we should take them out of the picture now. Samson shook his head. Not yet. Let's watch and see what happens first. I need to know what Rebecca is thinking. If we move too fast, we may make a mistake. Trisha leaned back and studied him for a moment. A slow smile crept across her face. You really can't stand her anymore, can you? Samson frowned. I hate that woman. I can't wait to be free of her and be with you, baby. Trisha laughed softly and slid closer. I can't wait either. They both chuckled, their voices low and cruel. She is so foolish, Trisha said, shaking her head. She truly believes that boy she calls her son is hers. She has no idea that her own poor child is gone forever. Samson gave a cold smile, his eyes glinting. She will never know. And by the time she even suspects, it will be too late. Their laughter filled the small apartment, a sharp sound in the quiet night, while far away Rebecca rocked little Caleb to sleep, unaware of the bitter words and dark plans being spoken against her. 6 months later, the mansion looked even livelier than before. The flowers Jonah had carefully tended were in full bloom, and the smell of Lydia's cooking had become part of the house itself. Caleb was now a strong, laughing toddler who filled every corner with his cheerful noise. One bright afternoon, Lydia quietly approached Rebecca in the kitchen. Madam, Lydia began almost shyly, I came to tell you something. My husband and I have saved enough from our salaries. We think it is time to rent a small apartment of our own. Rebecca frowned. Never, she said firmly. You are not going anywhere. If you both leave now, I will not see my Caleb every day. Please, don't go. Lydia's eyes widened. But madam, we only thought... For your information, Rebecca interrupted with a soft smile, I have already employed a new security man and a new cook. You and your husband are too old to keep working under me. From now on, you are not staff. You are family. You can stay here as long as you wish. Forever if you like. Lydia's face lit up with joy. Thank you, Madam Rebecca. May God bless you. You have given us more than we ever prayed for. Rebecca smiled. And I get to keep my Caleb close, she said warmly. That evening Samson drove home. When he reached the gate and saw that Jonah was not sitting in his usual place, a smile crept across his face. Finally, he thought, they have left. He parked the car and walked inside, expecting to find the house quiet. But in the living room, Caleb was playing happily on the carpet while Rebecca watched from the sofa. Samson's smile disappeared. I thought these people were gone, he said sharply. Why is that foolish old man not at the gate? Rebecca's eyes flashed, and she stood up at once. Samson, she said in a low, firm voice, never speak of them like that again. If you dare insult them one more time, I will make sure you regret it. Samson stared at her, startled by the strength in her words. Rebecca held his gaze. Jonah and Lydia are part of this family now. If you cannot respect them, keep your words to yourself. The room grew silent. Samson turned away, the anger still on his face, but he said nothing more. Rebecca sat back down beside the child, her hand resting protectively on Caleb's small back, while Samson stood in the doorway, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. 20 years passed like a long, quiet river. Jonah and Lydia had grown grey and slow, but they were still living in Rebecca's mansion. Their hair was white now, their backs a little bent, yet they moved about the house with the gentle pride of people who had truly found a home. Caleb, the boy the river had once carried, was no longer a baby. He had grown into a tall, bright young man with calm eyes and a warm smile. He called Jonah and Lydia Papa and Mama, and treated Rebecca with the respect of a second mother. Rebecca herself had changed. Lines of wisdom marked her face, and her once quick steps had become graceful and measured. She still ran her late father's company with quiet strength, and in her heart Caleb had long become more than the child of her friends. He was like her own son. Ethan, the boy she had raised as hers, was now a young man as well, handsome, confident, and preparing to step into the family business. Far across town, Samson sat in Trisha's apartment, a place he had kept hidden for 2 decades. Trisha's hair now carried threads of silver, but her eyes still gleamed with the same sharp ambition. Samson leaned back in his chair, a slow, satisfied smile on his face. Baby, he said in a low voice. The time we have prayed for is almost here. Trisha poured him a drink and sat opposite him, her own smile as cold as it was eager. Yes, she replied, soon everything we planned for will be complete. Rebecca will hand over all her father's wealth to the boy she thinks is hers, and when that boy controls it all, our patience will finally pay off. Samson chuckled, swirling the drink in his glass. 20 years of waiting, but it was worth it. She still doesn't know that her real son was lost long ago. Our poor boy. He gave a short, dry laugh. She believes he is safe in her arms all these years. And she believes the child she calls Ethan is her own flesh and blood. Trisha's eyes shone with a dark pride. She raised our son for us, Samson. She fed him, educated him, gave him every advantage, and soon she will give him every coin of her father's fortune. And she never once suspected Samson lifted his glass toward her in a silent toast. To the day of reward, he said. Trisha clinked her glass against his and whispered, to the day. Their quiet laughter filled the room, certain that the long wait was finally coming to an end, unaware that truth, like a hidden seed, was already pushing toward the light. Ethan had grown into a tall, handsome young man, but the charm that impressed strangers could not hide the jealousy building in his heart. He had been watching his mother more closely in recent months, and he did not like what he saw. Rebecca often bought Caleb thoughtful gifts, a new set of books, a fine watch for his birthday, even small surprises from her travels. Whenever she visited the company's head office, she invited Caleb to ride along so he could learn how the family business worked. Ethan, who believed he should have been the one receiving such attention, felt ignored. One afternoon he burst into Rebecca's study without knocking. She was at her desk, signing papers, while Caleb's latest gift, a sleek leather briefcase, rested on a chair. "Mother," Ethan said sharply, "I need to talk to you." Rebecca looked up, startled by his tone. "What is it, Ethan?" "You love Caleb more than you love me," he said. "You buy him gifts. You take him to the office. You show him everything about the company. You were supposed to take me there, not him." Rebecca put her pen down and folded her hands. "Ethan, it is not what you think. Caleb is a good child. He is focused, intelligent, brave, and hard-working." "And I'm not," Ethan cut in. "You," Rebecca said calmly, "like to waste my money. You go clubbing, you come home with different women, and you refuse to work. How can I trust you with a business when you will not even try to be responsible?" Ethan's face hardened. "How can I work when my mother has more money than she can spend?" Rebecca shook her head slowly. "You see what I am talking about. You are so unserious. Money is nothing without character." Her words stung. Ethan clenched his fists, spun on his heel, and stormed out of the study without another word. He went straight upstairs, his long strides echoing on the polished staircase. Caleb, who had been arranging books on a shelf in the hallway, looked up when he heard the sharp sound of Ethan's steps. From the landing, he saw Ethan push open the door to Samson's bedroom and slip inside. Caleb frowned. Why would Ethan go straight to his father's room right after arguing with Mother? The thought made him pause. He moved quietly toward the half-closed door and stood where a tall potted plant hid him from sight. Inside, Samson was sitting at the edge of his bed, tying the laces of his shoes. He looked up as Ethan entered. "What is it, son? Why are you breathing like you just ran a race?" "I hate that woman," Ethan burst out, his voice shaking with anger. "Rebecca is foolish to me. She loves that poor boy Caleb more than she loves me. She is always talking about him. I don't even think she is my mother. I dislike her so much. She disgusts me." Samson studied him for a long moment, then a slow, cold smile spread across his face. "You are right," he said quietly. "She is not your mother." Ethan's eyes widened. "What? How do you mean?" Samson leaned forward, lowering his voice. "It is time you know the truth. The day you were born, Trisha, my true love, also gave birth. Nurse Helen exchanged the babies. The child Rebecca carried was thrown into the river." Instead of shock or anger, a strange relief crossed Ethan's face. "So it's true," he said slowly. "I never felt like she loved me. Now I see why he gave a short, bitter laugh. She was never my mother." Samson placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not tell anyone. We must keep this secret until our plan is complete. Tomorrow I will take you to meet your real mother, Tricia. Together we will finish what we started." Ethan nodded eagerly. "Yes, father. Now I understand everything. We will keep the secret outside the half-open door." Caleb's heart thudded so hard he feared they might hear it. He had followed only out of curiosity, but now every word burned into his mind. He backed away quietly and hurried down the stairs. Rebecca was still in the study when he arrived, her eyes on a file of documents. Caleb closed the door behind him and told her everything he had overheard. Rebecca's face went pale. "I must confront them immediately," she said, rising from her chair. "No, Ma," Caleb said quickly, his voice steady despite the rush of his heartbeat. "Please calm down. Let's not confront them yet. We must watch and wait. I already have a plan, and when the time is right, we will reveal the truth in a way that no one can deny." Rebecca looked into Caleb's determined eyes. The steadiness she saw there slowly quieted her racing thoughts. She sank back into her chair, listening as Caleb began to explain the careful steps he intended to take to bring every hidden secret into the light. 2 months later, Jonah's health began to fail. It started quietly. He tired easily when sweeping the gate or trimming the flowers. At first he thought it was only the weight of age, but soon he grew so weak that even walking across the courtyard left him breathless. One cool evening, when the compound was silent and the city lights glowed beyond the walls, Jonah sent a message to Rebecca. "Please come to the boys' quarters, alone." Rebecca hurried over. Jonah was lying on his bed, his once strong hands resting loosely on the blanket. His face looked peaceful, but pale. She sat beside him and took his hand. "Papa Jonah," she whispered, "what is it? Should I call a doctor?" He gave a faint smile and shook his head slowly. "No, my daughter. My time to join my ancestors is near. I cannot leave this world with a lie in my heart." Rebecca felt her chest tighten. "Don't speak like that. You will stay with us for many more years." Jonah's voice was weak but clear. "Caleb is not the child of my blood. 20 years ago, back in our fishing village, Lydia and I heard the cry of a baby by the river. We found a little boy in a basket, floating on the water. We took him in and raised him as our own. We never discovered who left him there, and we told no one. We only thanked the gods for sending him. But I will not go to the grave with this secret. Promise me you will help Caleb find his true parents." Tears filled Rebecca's eyes. She held his hand tighter. "I promise, Papa. But please don't speak of leaving us. You are not going anywhere soon. Stay with us." Jonah looked at her with gentle gratitude. "Thank you, my daughter." A moment later his breathing slowed. He gave one last quiet sigh, and his hand slipped from hers. Jonah was gone. Rebecca arranged for his body to be taken to his native village for burial. The villagers welcomed her kindly and honored the man who had once fished their river. After the simple burial, Lydia stood beside the fresh mound of earth and spoke softly to Rebecca. "My daughter, I will not return to the city. I want to remain where my husband rests. This is where my heart belongs." Rebecca gripped her hands. "Mama Lydia, please come back with us. Caleb and I need you." Lydia shook her head, tears glistening. "No, my child. Thank you for everything you have done. You truly tried for us more than anyone. But my place is here beside Jonah. Please take care of Caleb until you find his parents. Just as you promised Jonah." Rebecca hugged her tightly. "I will, Mama Lydia. I give you my word." Lydia wiped the tears from Rebecca's face with the edge of her wrapper. "May the gods bless you, my daughter." When Rebecca returned to the mansion after Jonah's burial, the house felt larger and strangely quiet. That night, when everyone had gone to bed, she sat alone in the dimly lit living room. The ticking of the wall clock was the only sound. Her thoughts would not rest. Could Caleb be my lost son? She asked herself again and again. Samson's cruel words to Ethan, words Caleb had secretly reported to her, had never left her mind. Now Jonah's dying confession that Caleb was found in a basket on the river made the puzzle even sharper. Rebecca pressed her palms together, 2 stories, both pointing to one truth. Could the gods have brought my own blood back into my home without me knowing? She remembered the first time she held Caleb, From the beginning she had felt a quiet pull toward the boy, something deeper than simple affection. It cannot be only kindness, she thought. It feels like blood calling to blood. Her heart raced. I will do a DNA test, she whispered to herself, secretly. I must know the truth. I have always felt he is part of me in a way I cannot explain. 2 days later, late in the morning, Ethan entered her study without knocking. He stood tall, dressed in a crisp shirt, a look of self-importance on his face. Mother, he began, I'm grown now. When will I take over the company? Can't you see you are getting old and will soon join your ancestors? Rebecca's pen dropped onto the desk. She looked up sharply, shock flashing in her eyes. How dare you say that to me, Ethan? Ethan blinked, then gave a short, uneasy laugh. I'm sorry, Mother. I didn't mean it that way. I mean, let me be the head of the company. You are getting older, Mum. Rebecca's voice turned firm and cold. Listen to me carefully. I am only 50 years old. I am still very strong and active. I will decide when it is time for anyone to lead this company, and that time is not now. Ethan shifted his weight, but tried to keep his smile. I only thought. You thought wrongly, she interrupted. When I am ready, I will call you. Until then, show respect. This company is not a toy. Her eyes held his until he finally looked away. Rebecca lifted her pen again and continued signing documents, her heart still beating hard. Now with the weight of 2 secrets, the plan for a quiet DNA test and the unsettling change she was beginning to see in the son she had raised. Late that evening, after the house had grown quiet, Rebecca acted on the decision that had been burning in her mind for days. When Caleb left his comb on the bathroom counter, she carefully collected a few strands of hair and sealed them in a small envelope. Her heart beat fast as she drove to a private laboratory the next morning. She paid for a discreet DNA test, asking that the result be kept strictly confidential. For days she carried the quiet tension inside her like a hidden flame. A week later the sealed report was ready. Rebecca sat alone in her study and opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Her eyes moved quickly down the page until they stopped at the words, probability of maternity, 99.9%. For a moment she simply stared, the room spinning softly around her. Then tears filled her eyes, tears of joy and of the long years of confusion. She pressed the paper to her chest and whispered, I knew it. I said it all along. Caleb is my own son. Memories rushed back, the strange instant bond she had always felt with the boy, the quiet way her heart lifted whenever he smiled. I never felt a mother's love for Ethan, she said softly, her voice breaking with relief. Now I know why. My heart was calling to my real child all these years. Rebecca closed her eyes and let the truth settle inside her like sunlight breaking through a heavy cloud. The boy she had loved as a friend's child was in fact the child she had lost, the son she had prayed for and mourned without even knowing it. She whispered a final thank you to heaven, holding the test result close. Her heart beat with a fierce new strength, the joy of a mother who had finally found her own flesh and blood. The long-awaited day finally arrived, the day Rebecca had announced she would hand over control of the family company to Ethan. The great hall of the mansion shone with soft light from crystal chandeliers. A few close relatives, trusted friends, and senior staff filled the room, speaking in low, excited tones. At the center, a wide table held a single polished folder, the documents that would transfer leadership of the Daniels empire. Ethan stood beside Rebecca, his face glowing with pride. Rebecca, calm and regal, lifted the folder and said clearly, "Today I officially hand the running of this company to you, Ethan." Ethan grinned broadly and accepted the papers. The guests applauded. He could almost feel the power settling on his shoulders. At that very moment, the main doors swung open. Samson entered with a proud smile, and beside him walked Tricia, elegant in a fitted blue dress. Gasps rippled across the hall, whispers rose like wind through dry leaves. Samson strode forward and placed another folder on the table. "Rebecca," he said loudly so all could hear, "sign these divorce papers. It's time we end this pretense." Rebecca's eyes narrowed, but she took the papers and signed them with a single controlled stroke. Samson and Tricia exchanged a cold, satisfied smile. Tricia turned toward the startled guests and said, "Now all of this wealth belongs to our son." Samson added with a cruel laugh, "Rebecca, Ethan is not even your child. Go and search the river for the miserable baby you lost 20 years ago. And for everyone here to know, Tricia and I married in secret long ago." Shocked murmurs filled the hall. Rebecca, however, simply smiled. "Thank you for showing your true faces in front of witnesses," she said calmly. Just then the doors opened again and two uniformed police officers stepped inside. Behind them came Caleb, tall and steady, his eyes fixed on Samson. Samson's grin vanished. "What is this?" he demanded. Rebecca faced him without a tremor. "For months I have been patient," she said. "I recorded every word of your plans to steal what is not yours. And today Caleb stands here as proof that my lost son is alive. Caleb is my biological child." Gasps turned into stunned silence. Rebecca lifted another envelope. "The papers I handed to Ethan are fake. Here are the real company documents." She placed them in Caleb's hands. The officers moved forward. "You are under arrest for fraud and conspiracy," one of them said firmly. Samson and Tricia were led away as the guests watched in disbelief. They were later sentenced to life in prison for their crimes. Ethan, stripped of the wealth he had expected, drifted into a poor neighborhood. There, far from the luxury he once took for granted, he lived with deep regret, remembering the mother he had insulted and the brother he had despised. Caleb, now recognized as the rightful heir, proved himself wise and generous. 4 years later he married a kind young woman, and in time gave Rebecca 5 lively grandchildren who filled her home with laughter. Rebecca, her heart finally at peace, often sat in the garden surrounded by the children, thankful that truth and patience had triumphed, and that the son she had once lost had become the man who would carry the family's name into the future.